Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Mathematics. We are now at our fourth week, and for this week four, our topic is all about fractions again, like in week three. But for this one, we are going to learn about how to reduce and raise a fraction. We will also change fractions to decimal and also vice versa and the non-terminating decimal. So for this lesson, we will understand the concepts of whole numbers and simple fractions, and we will also learn to simplify fractions into their simplest form. So this is a continuation of topics in lesson 3 that we had on our third week. So let's proceed to our first slide. So we have here our first slide, the reduction and raising of fraction. So for this process of transforming fractions to other equivalent forms of either higher or lower terms without alternating the value of the fraction, it is called reduction and raising of fraction, when the numerator and denominator cannot anymore be divided by common divisor except one, the fraction is already on its lowest term. So to reduce fraction to its lowest term, both denominators should be divided by their greatest possible common divisor. So we have here, we're going to find out their greatest possible common divisor, or what we call the GCF, our greatest common factor. So this is how we are going to reduce fractions. So for this numerator and denominator, their common or greatest possible common divisor is 3, because 3 is divisible by 3 and 3 is divisible by 12 as well. So if we divide 3 divided by 3 is equals to 1 as our numerator, and again we are going to divide 3 to 12. So if we are going to divide 3 to our denominator, which is 12, the answer would be 4. So now we have reduced 3/12 into 3/12 fraction into 1/4. Now we have another example. We have 14/49. By reducing this fraction, we are going to find again their GCF, or the greatest common factor. And their greatest common factor is 7. So let's divide 7 to our numerator and denominator. 7 divided by 14 is 2, and 7 divided by 49 is 7 as well. So we got the answer of 2/7. And then another example that we have is 52/130. So let's find again their greatest common factor, or the GCF, which is 26. So 26 divided by 52 is equals to 2. So let's divide 26 to our denominator 130, and the answer is 5. So you could see the difference if we reduce our fraction to 52/130, it becomes 2/5, but just by finding our GCF. So these are their lowest terms. Now another method that we are going to learn is how to raise or increase fractions to their higher terms. So normally, if we are going to raise fractions to higher terms, we are going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by the same number. So when you change a fraction to an equivalent fraction with a higher denominator, we raise it to their higher terms. So we have here an example: raise the fraction to higher terms by finding the missing numerator. So we have here an example: 5/6 is equals to, so we have a missing numerator over 24. 24 is our denominator. Now, how are we going to find it? First, our first step is to divide the new numerator by the old denominator. So this is going to be 4 because we are going to divide our denominator. So 6 divided by 24 is 4. So now we have our new numerator. Now, if we got the answer, we'll just have to multiply both the old denominator and numerator by 4. So let's divide 4 to our numerator 5 and denominator 6. So 5 multiplied by 4 is equals to 20, and 6 multiplied by 4 is equals to 24. Now our missing numerator, or the higher terms for 5 over 6, is 20 over 24. So that is our answer. So another example, another method that we, or another concept that we need to learn is change fractions to decimal and vice versa. So to change fraction to decimal, simply divide the numerator by denominator. When a decimal number is written in a common fractional form, the decimal number is used as the numerator and the denominator is 1 with as many zero annexed as there are decimal places in the original decimal number. Then the common fraction is reduced to its lowest terms. Now, we have here our example. So we have 11 over 20. This is our fraction. And how are we going to change it into decimal? So we're just going to divide our numerator and denominator. So by dividing it, we got the answer of 55 over 100. So let's divide it. 20 divided 11 divided by 20, we got. So let's put the decimal point above, so it is vertically lined up. That's why we got the answer of 0.55 here. So as you can see, here is our remainder 0.55, and our quotient is 100, and our dividend 20 is still our numerator. So we have here 55 over 100, or as a decimal, it is 0.55. So simply divide your numerator to your denominator if you are going to convert your fraction into decimal. So again, converting decimals into fractions into 3 easy step. Step 1, you can either follow this step also. So step 1, we have here for decimal. So we have 0.25. How are we going to convert decimal into fraction? So simply put 1 as your denominator and then multiply your numerator and denominator to 100. So 0.25 times 100, or multiplied by 100, is equals to 25. And 1 multiplied by 100 is equals to 100. And then we are going to reduce 25 over 100 to its lowest term, and we got the answer of 1 over 4. So by converting decimals into fractions, an example that we have is 0.25. Our answer would be 1 over 4. So we also have the non-terminating decimal, and the non-terminating decimal is a decimal number wherein there is no equivalent in fraction. These are the decimal numbers that do not have repetitions, and the constant pi, for example, is a non-terminating decimal that has no equivalent fraction. But the non-terminating decimal with repetition has an equivalent fraction. So we have here examples of non-terminating decimals. We have 1/3. If we are going to divide it, our answer will just become 0.3233. You may get your calculator and witness this, and you will witness our non-terminating decimal. We also have if we are going to divide 3 over 2, 2/3, we will get an answer of 0.666 and so on and so forth. Also, we have it 2 over 11, 0.18181818. So these are examples of non-terminating decimals. So I will show you a video of the lesson also, or discussion about fractions.
In the last section, we learned how to convert some special base 10 fractions into decimals, and vice versa. Now we're going to learn how to convert any fraction into a decimal. And it turns out to be really simple. All you have to do is divide. Since a fraction is really just a division problem, if you go ahead and do the division, you'll get an answer. And that answer will be the decimal value of the fraction. Now there's two ways we can do the division, the easy way and the hard way. Now, just because I'm mean, we're going to start with the hard way. Let's take the fraction 1/2 and convert it into a regular division problem with this division symbol. Now all we have to do is follow the procedure for division. We just see how many times this 2 divides into this 1. Oh, it won't divide any times. 2 is bigger than 1. Looks like we're going to need some help. And that's where the decimal point comes in. Now you remember that in the last section, we learned that 1 could be written as 1.0 or 1.00 or 1.000, and its value is still 1. Let's try doing that here and see what happens. After the 1, put a decimal point and then a 0 in the tenths place. Now our division problem looks like 10 divided by 2, and that's easy to do. The only difference is we have a decimal point. Let's ignore the decimal point for a minute and pretend that our problem really is 10 divided by 2. So 2 will go into 10 5 times, because 5 times 2 equals 10. And that leaves no remainder. So we're done, right? Not so fast. We've got that decimal point to deal with. And we know that 5 can't be the answer because 5 is bigger than 1/2. We just need to include the decimal point in our answer for it to be correct. We put it directly above the decimal point in our problem. There. Now our answer is 0.5, or 0.5, which is the more proper way to write it. So by dividing, we figured out that the decimal value of 1/2 is 0.5. Now let's try converting the fraction 3/4 by dividing. Of course, we start by rewriting our fraction like this, 3 divided by 4. And again, we run into the same problem. 4 is too big to go into 3, so it looks like we're going to need a decimal point here too. Let's put a decimal point after the 3 and a 0 in the tenths place to make 3.0. Now our problem almost looks like 30 divided by 4. Now if you remember your multiplication table, you'll know that 4 goes into 30 7 times, because 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28 leaves a remainder of 2, but we don't want a remainder, so let's keep going. 4 is too big to divide into 2, so the only way we can get rid of the remainder is to use another 0 in the hundredths place, which makes the number we're dividing up kind of look like 300. Now we can bring down that extra 0 to make the remainder look like 20. And 4 will go into 20 5 times, because 5 times 4 equals 20, and that leaves no remainder. Oh yeah. But don't forget, we need to include the decimal point in our answer. Now if you've kept your columns lined up like I have, you'll see that the decimal point goes right here, and that makes our answer 0.75. So the decimal value of 3/4 is 0.75. All right, let's convert one more the hard way. Let's find the decimal value of 1/3 by dividing 1 by 3. Again, 3 is too big to divide into 1, so we'll need to use a decimal point and another 0, which makes our problem look like 10 divided by 3. That's easy. 3 goes into 10 3 times, because 3 times 3 equals 9, and that leaves a remainder of 1. Just like before, we don't want a remainder, so let's use another 0 so we can keep on dividing. And that gives us 10 divided by 3 again. Well, we know that 3 goes into 10 3 times and leaves a remainder of 1. Still a remainder of 1. Well, it looks like we're going to need another 0. But that's just going to give us 10 divided by 3 again, which is going to give us another remainder of 1. This looks like it might keep on going forever. Some fractions are like that. If you divide them, you'll see a repeating pattern of numbers that continues on forever. So the decimal value of 1/3 is 0.33333333, and 3's that keep on going forever. But since we can't keep writing 3's forever, we can just stop and round the number off. Or we can use this special symbol that means this number repeats forever. Alright, so all we have to do to convert a fraction into a decimal is divide. And so far, we've been doing that the hard way. But now we're going to do it the easy way. We're going to use a calculator. Let's try a couple with a calculator and see what we get. To convert 1/4, we just punch in 1 divided by 4 and we get 0.25. To convert 2/3, we just punch in 2 divided by 3 and we get 0. A whole lot of 6s. Looks like we have another one of those repeating decimals. Yep, this way's certainly easier and quicker too, but it's important to know how to do it both ways. The 5 fractions that we've just converted are so common that it's a good idea to memorize their decimal values. Here they are again so you can review them. 1/4 equals 0.25. 1/3 equals 0.33333. 1/2 equals 0.5. 2/3 equals 0.66666. And 3/4 equals 0.75. So that's how you convert any fraction into a decimal. You just divide. And we already learned how to go the other way, to convert a decimal into a fraction, in the last section. So be sure to review it if you need to. In the next section, we're going to learn a few tricks that we can use to help us compare the values of fractions. But before that, a quick review. To convert any fraction to a decimal number, all you have to do is divide the top number by the bottom number. Usually when you divide a fraction, you'll need to do decimal division. By using the decimal point, you can keep writing zeros in the decimal number places and continue dividing until you have no remainder. Sometimes decimal division results in a pattern that keeps repeating forever. When that happens, you can draw a line over the repeating digits instead of writing them forever. Once you know how to do decimal division, I recommend that you convert fractions using a calculator since it's quicker and easier. And as always, be sure to do the exercises. And don't forget to practice dividing the hard way too, because if you're ever stranded on a deserted island without a calculator, you need to be able to do your math homework.
So that is one of our video of a lesson that shows about converting fractions into decimals and vice versa. So on the video, we had seen how he had changed fractions to decimals and also how he changed decimal into fraction. And he also cited examples of fraction that if we divide it, we will have a non-terminating decimal and we will use a special symbol called the pi that goes on forever. So we had understand the concepts of whole numbers and simple fractions, and we had also simplified fractions into their simplest forms. So for this lesson, our references would be Business Mathematics K-12 BEC ABM Strand and some suggested readings of institutional module from CAP Business Mathematics. And I will also post the link of the video that I have shown you on this discussion that we had. So in order for you to go back onto that video if you want to further learn more about it. So for this week, we have activities. So for your activities, we have activity 1, 8 letters A and B. So for letter A, convert each of the following fractions to decimals. So you may show your solutions. And we also have for letter B, change each of the following decimals to fractions and show your solutions. So there are 10 items each, but I will just only require you to answer 5 numbers 1 to 5 of each letter. So for letter A, numbers 1 to 5 only, and for letter B, numbers 1 to 5 only also. So this would be your requirement for your week for activity. So again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You may send me a message through Facebook Messenger, or you may directly ask me at school as well. So once again, we had learned fractions, reduction and raising of fraction, changing fraction to decimal and vice versa, and the non-terminating decimal. So this was the continuation of topics in lesson 3. And again, our lesson that we had from week 3 is classification of fractions. Again, we have proper, improper, and mixed fraction. And we have change improper fraction to a whole number or a mixed number. And we had also changed mixed numbers to improper fractions. And now this is our continuation, which is reduction and raising of fraction, changing fractions to decimal and vice versa, and also the non-terminating decimal. So once again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. You may personally reach me through Facebook Messenger, or you may directly ask me at school. So to end this lesson discussion, I would like to say thank you and would like to share a Bible verse from the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 23. Said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. If you want to share more Bible verse, you may share it to the group chat that we have. So I encourage you to share, but it's okay also if you are not going to share. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, and God bless.